Good evening, and welcome to the 19th edition of the webinar entitled LIVRESQ Empower Your Teaching. It's really nice to see you. Give me one sec. I'm doubling the sound. So we are currently live on Zoom and on Facebook, and I'm following all the chats. I can see you on Zoom with me. Thank you very much for joining me. And if you want to ask any questions at any point, feel free to turn on your microphone. If you're on Zoom, feel free to comment. If you're on Facebook, if you're shy and you don't want to turn on your microphone, you can also chat on Zoom. I'm following everything. I have lots of screens and everything. I can see everything. So I'm all ears for everyone. We're here today to talk about quizzes because we've had some updates, especially in the way the quizzes look, but also some of the settings that we've had previously have we've changed the way they're arranged just because we changed how quizzes look. So I want to show you what changes we've made because we already have one of these episodes about how to use quizzes. Since this is a webinar that's also designed for people who are just now seeing LIVRESQ for the first time, I'll also briefly go into main functionalities, but I won't go into anything else regarding creating a project from scratch, for instance, because we do have that explained in previous webinars, a lot of previous webinars, and the recordings are available currently on our Facebook page, LIVRESQ International. If you're watching us live on Facebook, you already know that, or on our YouTube channel. So I'm going to share my screen. I didn't really introduce myself. I realized recently that I haven't done that in a while, which is a little bit strange, I must admit. So my name is Raluca Bolocan. I'm an instructional designer and a trainer for the company Ascendia, which is a Romanian company, the Romanian company actually behind LIVRESQ. Right, so now I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can see it. I can also see the chat and the participants. And my screen shows the main page of the editor LIVRESQ. Now that I've introduced myself, I can properly start talking to you and telling you about our amazing tool. And since you're here, you might know that we are a tool that allows you to create educational content in different ways. Courses, ebooks, or actual digital textbooks, or anything to do with digital and learning, you can create it in LIVRESQ, and it will export as a SCORM file or as a simple HTML5 archive. Or you can host the lessons you create in our library, and we offer hosting for free. You can have a free LIVRESQ account that allows you to do lots of things, or you can have a premium LIVRESQ account for not a very large sum of money that allows you to do even cooler stuff, especially using AI, because we've introduced a lot of things regarding AI this year, including the ability to create an entire project, an entire lesson using artificial intelligence. Actually, the project where I'm going to show you all the quizzes, because we have projects, we work in projects that can be lessons or any type of digital learning material, but the project that I'm going to be working on is a project created using artificial intelligence. And I have it here under my resources, which is where everything you're working on in LIVRESQ gets stored. I've created a lesson actually for the previous webinar. If I double click it, I can enter the edit mode and I'm down into sections. And again, I can see that since it's created with AI, it only has one section. Projects in LIVRESQ can have one or multiple sections. If I want to edit this section, I will double click it. I asked the AI 2 weeks ago, sorry, not last week, to create a lesson about fruit and vegetables. We tend to give very sort of general examples so that they can fit more users. But this is what it generated, a lesson on fruits and vegetables. And 2 weeks ago, I also showed you that you can generate images now using DALL-E that's integrated inside LIVRESQ in the same way that you can generate text. So already we have 4 components, actually, that can use AI. We can create projects. We can edit text using ChatGPT 4.0, so the latest version of ChatGPT. We can generate images, like the one here and the one here. And we can already generate video. Right now, it's a simple way to generate video. It works on text-to-speech, but also with a character that lip syncs the speech that you're asking it to say. And we have 4 ladies, I think. At the moment, we're working on Google infrastructure, so more characters will be added. We have three ladies, sorry. Three ladies and five, and two of them are in two different positions. So you can work with either of these ladies and you can make them talk, say something according to how you generate the sound. But I won't get into that because we're here to talk about quizzes. So back from here, we're going to go back to our section, and we are going to talk about the types of quizzes you can add to LIVRESQ. In order to add a resource, if it's not already in your project, or if you want to add it somewhere else, the way you add it in LIVRESQ is to take it from the left-hand side and add it to a certain place inside a lesson, like I did here for a quiz. I'll delete this accordion below. We only need the quiz here. I won't necessarily be creating questions related to fruits and vegetables. It's just to show you how quizzes work. I'll move this text box here so we don't lose it, but I'll delete this cell here so that we can focus on quizzes. And I'll keep adding quizzes to this row just so that we can go through every type of quiz and you can see all of the changes that we've added and what they look like. So in order to edit an element that we added to our project using drag and drop, we are going to double click it. Once you double click the element, you are now in the editing mode. And if you are familiar with LIVRESQ, you will notice that it looks a little bit different. We used to have single choice and multiple choice as two different types of quizzes. Now we have one single name. It's called multiple choice. If you want, I can make my screen, I can zoom in on my screen. Is this better? All good? So we only have one type of multiple choice. This is the default quiz, the most simple form of quiz you can create. You write a question and you have a few options to answer. I'm going to use the example that I always use in courses that I teach to Romanians, which is what is the capital of Romania? And this way, maybe I can teach our international audience about Romanian as well, a little bit. So what is the capital of Romania? Obviously, we have one correct answer. We only have one capital for the moment. I'm told that's the ideal, but not always. So I'm going to write a few cities in Romanian. I even have the Romanian keyboard still on. I was just teaching a course earlier. And maybe let's think of another famous one. Okay, so I've written 3 cities. I only have one correct option. But right now, if this toggle is on, then I can select multiple correct answers. If I turn it off, then I only have one correct answer. And this is for international convention that if we have only one answer, we have a circle here, and LIVRESQ automatically converts. If we have multiple answer, we have the checkbox basically, just to show the student that they have to select more answers. This is the intuitive way has been decided. So this is how we can tell if somebody knows how to write a quiz. We see whether they've changed the icons here. So if we have one answer, we untoggle this. We don't have multiple answers, so uncheck. And we have circles here, the International Convention for everything to do with UX and quizzes. And if we want to have multiple correct answers, then we will turn this toggle on and it will, these boxes will become, squares. I couldn't find the word for squares for a moment. And this shows the student that they can select multiple correct answers. Since we only have one capital, I'll turn this toggle off. Other settings for quizzes are now behind this little setting wheel. If we click it, we'll see that the question is displayed. This is the first check mark. We can deselect this if we don't want a question. I don't encourage you to do that in terms of UX. Again, generally the way we design quizzes is we need everything to do with what it looks like and to tell the student or whoever's going through the course what they have to do. So I won't untoggle this, but you can. And we also can shuffle the order of the options, which means that every time this quiz is accessed, the order of the options will be different. Of course, it's only 3 options, so we don't have that many possibilities here. The other 2 buttons are duplicate and remove item. because this single quiz, if you remember, can still be turned into a gallery of quizzes. So this is one item from a quiz. If I duplicate this question, then I can change it, obviously. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to have the duplicate, but we usually, at least in Australia, we use this duplicate property a lot in order to keep the settings. So, and I can also remove it. If I wanted to add another question entirely, I still have this button here that allows me to add another question. Duplicate, remove, add. And this is what it looks like. The rest of the settings are still in their place the way they used to be. So the purpose, the main thing about quizzes in LIVRESQ is selecting the right purpose. We have learning for quizzes that will offer feedback instantly and allow the student to find the correct answer, used especially when during the process of learning. And we also have assessment when we want to assess the student, and survey when we want to collect information. But for that, we'd need an LMS in order to access that information. Let's look at the first two, though, in view mode, in order to see what they look like in case you've never seen LIVRESQ quizzes before. I'll only have one question here, so I'll just leave my capital city question. We are now in learning. If I go into view mode and I answer incorrectly, the platform tells me instantly that it's an incorrect answer. It gives me visual feedback, and it's waiting for me to find the right answer. And then I can move on. I've solved the quiz. If I want to change the purpose to assessment, so if I want to assess the student, then no matter what my choice is, I don't get instant feedback. I need to make a decision and then click on verify in order to have confirmation whether it is correct or not. So if my answer is wrong, I can add different types of settings, show solve button, and so on, different types of setting for LMS as well in assessment mode, because as you can see, I have more options for assessment than for learning. Okay, so this is the most simple type of quiz, and we've kept it on, sorry, I wanted to keep it on learning. Let's add another one. The main rule for UX that we use as instructional designers is not to add in a single quiz item, is not to add multiple types of quizzes so that we don't confuse the learner. The next type of quiz is drag and drop. Drag and drop again works in the same way that it used to work, except a lot of the settings that we had before are now hidden under this setting wheel. So the first text box, we add a question or a requirement. So as to specify, to tell the learner what they have to do. For instance, drag and drop the correct answer into the box. The correct answers, we're going to have multiple answers, into the boxes. Let's talk about animals for a little bit. Domestic animals and our wild animals. So the way this works is that whatever is in between brackets here corresponds to one of the variants, one of the options. So 1 for 1, 2 for 2, which means that whatever I want the student to drag and drop to 1, I need to name it here. For instance, cats are domestic animals. And for 2, let's think of tigers, although we know for a fact that a lot of people keep tigers as pets, so we'll just keep the classic definition, but I won't use capital letters so that it's not that easy to guess. Now, other settings we have here are a little bit different, or we have more settings than we used to have for single and multiple choice. We can shuffle the order of the options again, which there are only 2 options, so we won't have a lot of leeway here. We can change the placement of the options. They can either be placed at the top, the right, the bottom, the left, an option we had before. We can also choose sequential display, which means that they will appear one by one. So let's say they appear at the top. We'll start with this, and we won't select sequential display, but we will leave it like this. So we have it at the top, on top of the item. That's what it means. And we can drag and drop. We're in learning. the items in their respective places. We're in learning, so we have instant feedback. If I wanted the options to be placed, let's say, on the right, and sequential display essentially means that the options appear one by one. So instead of having them both on the screen at the same time, we have the options one by one. Please let me know if there are any questions so far, or if you need me to redo and to rewind one of the quizzes that we've done so far, or if you want more information on one of them. If not, I'll continue by showing you that we can also add images to quizzes. So if I double this, so in order to keep the same settings, but I'll place the options at the bottom because it's annoying for me for them to be on the right, but it depends on how you design the quiz inside the lesson. The fact that we have a text box and the text editing menu in any of the places where we can add text here in a quiz also means that we can add images to either of these places. So if I wanted my students to drag and drop the image for them to recognize a process, for instance, or a certain type of visual, I can add an image here. I've deleted the text and I can go into my text box and select image, add image. I don't have an image of cats prepared, but I do have the possibility to search through stock photos. I'll search the plural of cats. I get very cute images, but none with multiple cats. And I use the plural, so anyway, there we go. I'll select this. I need it only in a small size. I've added it. Now, if I want to make it smaller, I can double click it inside the text box, click on the wheel here, and go into advanced settings and change its pixel size. It keeps the aspect ratio, so you don't need to worry about it looking squished. But I want a very small picture of cats. I don't need it even as big as it initially, maybe 120 pixels. I don't need it as big. And now I also want a picture of tigers. So I deleted the text. Hold on. And I'm adding an image from the text box, adding it from stock photos, searching for tigers. There we go. Maybe some close up because we're gonna make the image small. I'm very picky apparently. I should have taken the first images I saw to tigers. The great news is that you have multiple sources. You have 3 sources for stock photos to choose from, and you also have lots of pages of results. So most likely, if you spend a little bit of time, you can find the picture that you need. Now, ideally, these pictures would be similar in size, so I'm gonna choose the same 120 height, but this one is narrower. Ideally, if I wanted to spend more time, I would look for pictures that are similar in size. So if I go back to settings, sorry, I kept duplicating this. I duplicated it twice. If I go back to the settings here, I can see that it's kept everything. Bottom sequential display, which means that first the picture of the kittens will appear and then the picture of the tigers. I'll go into view mode. The first one stayed the same because now this is a gallery of quizzes. It's not just one single question. Now I get the picture of the cats that I can drag and drop, and then I get the picture of the tigers that I can drag and drop. And it was sequential display, which means that they appeared one by one. If I wanted them to appear all together so that my learner can see all of the options, I would have not picked sequential display. Another place where we can put images is up here. So if we duplicate and we wanted, for instance, this image to be up here, I'm gonna use copy paste. It should work. And let's say I want my learner to drag and drop the word domestic. I'll place it under, and let's take the image of the tigers. I'm just using copy paste and just sort of changing things around, and mainly cut as well. So my first option, I'll delete the end. Hold on. My first option is domestic. My second option should be wild. If I go into view mode, sequential, one by one, the answers appear. I have the picture of the kittens, the pictures of the tigers. Now I have the pictures in my items, and I can drag and drop words again. So it's up to you, however you want to use images. The main rule in LIVRESQ, and this we will always keep, I think, is that when you can add text, most likely you're also able to add mathematical formulas or any science formulas, images, tables, links, and variables. So the same way works with quizzes. I've shown you how to do it with images. And for instance, for drag and drop, how you can use images. All okay? All good? Adding images, great. This is one way. The reason why this quiz looks so big now is because for the other iterations inside my gallery, I have images, and that makes it all bigger, so it will scale up. Now, if I wanted to see another type of quiz, I just drag and drop a quiz inside my row. I'm putting them all, not necessarily in a very beautiful manner, but in a very productive manner so that we can see them one under the other. I'll double click my quiz, and let's choose the third type, which is drop-down. So this type of quiz allows me to create drop-down lists in a bigger text. Again, I can add images, but bear in mind that for drop-down, they're going to be very, very small, and it's not really productive to add images at this point. So let's see. Choose the correct option from the drop-down lists. Again, we're going to do 2 so that you can clearly see how this works. The number in between brackets corresponds with the drop-down menu. So we have lists of options here. For instance, 1 is a domestic animal, and I should actually change to my English keyboard. And 2 is a wild animal. We won't use images anymore. Do not fret. This is the list. Under 1, I can add multiple options. And this is the list under 2. Again, I can add multiple options. So let's see. Wild animals. Wolf, bear, because we're in Romania, and we need a domestic animal now. Let's use dog instead of cat. I can't believe I chose pictures of the cat. I'm a dog person, 100%. So we'll think that wolf is not correct. We'll check dog as the correct answer. Here we can choose multiple answers, and the symbol doesn't change because the learner won't really see this symbol. They just see the list and they have to select. And finally, the second menu is a wild animal. Okay. And finally, the second menu can be wolf, cat, and maybe I can't think of more domestic animals than cat and dog. Maybe, let's say pig. Okay. Perhaps I should have, oh no, this is capital letter because it's beginning. So now if I go into view mode, actually, let's go through the settings a little bit. So I have 2 lists. I can add another list, but then I would need to mark it here with number 3 between brackets. And under settings, I can shuffle the order of the options. This shuffles the order for both my lists, for both my drop-down menus. I go into view mode, and I have my 2 drop-down lists like this. The first one, bear, our favorite domestic animal, obviously, and then so I'm still in learning. The platform is waiting for me to, I just saw the comment of pen. That would have been a good idea. I don't know why I went with pig. My subconsciousness is working in mysterious ways tonight. So we have wolf as a wild animal, and this is how it works. Drop down, simple. The main difference is that now we have the settings here instead of where they used to be. And basically, it's the same for all other quizzes, but I'm still going to show them to you one by one. The third one being ordering elements. Ordering elements is any type of reorder. You can use it with images as well, maybe to showcase a process. I tried this a couple of days ago to showcase the process of making a phone call, where you start by dialing the number. And I realized that if I were to show this to younger students, like a phone with a classic dial, they might not know what to do with the object. But anyways, so we have the process that we can ask them to order if I were to add images here. Instead, I can use it, for instance, to order a sentence, especially in English, where we have very strict syntax. So order, or place the words in order so that you form a correct, so that they form, actually, you don't form anything, so that they form a correct sentence. The first word, let's think of a subject. Andrew, will use your name since you're here. Andrew.
Why not?
Is listening to, is learning, actually. Let's use something, is learning about this. So what we can do here, the options that we have is again to hide. I didn't go, I only mentioned this the first time, hiding the question or requirement, because it's not really encouraged to do that. We can add option numbers. I won't add them, but I'll show you. We can change the arrangement from vertical to horizontal, but basically you don't need numbers in between brackets, because whatever order you set here is considered by the platform to be the correct order. So if we go into view mode now, we have it all vertically. Doesn't really make a lot of sense for a sentence, but it would make sense if you wanted, for instance, to have a chronology of something, if you're teaching history, or to order a process. But for our sentence, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but basically it's reordering. So this is the correct order. Now, if I wanted to add option numbers and arrange it horizontally, this is what it would look like. I have the option numbers here so that the student knows what is the first place and what is the last place. And then they just arrange the sentence in the way that it's supposed to be arranged. Reordering. Whatever order you set here is the correct order. And however many items you have here, we can keep adding options. That's how many options the student will have to drag and drop around. All right, one more time. This is a marathon, I know, but it won't be it won't last a lot longer, because I just want to give you the gist. And mainly, actually, the main change is that options related to quizzes are now hidden under here. Open-ended. I do want to talk about this because the way open-ended questions are designed for us is to be used in a survey questionnaires only. So the purpose here should be used in survey. This is what we recommend you use them at. Of course, they have many other applications because you do have an initial content and a correct content, so that maybe you want your students to correct something. It might cause a lot of errors. And the reason why you have the possibility technically to choose another purpose is because we do want to let our teachers and our users have the freedom to choose. But the way we recommend it is to use the open-ended question for surveys only, and to just ask a question. What is the most useful information you found out tonight, for instance? No initial content, no correct content. The purpose is survey. I can give it a number of maximum characters if I wanted to, For instance, they can't write more than 1,000 characters, and I can ask the platform, but this is only if it's on the learning and survey, to ignore case sensitive and diacritics. If I go into view mode, essentially what I've created is a question with a box below it where I can answer that question. I won't go into anything else related to this because our recommendation, so that you don't get stuck in the course, is to have this on survey only. And connected to an LMS, you will be able to see the opinion of the students or whatever, a mini essay, whatever you want them to write. If you want to do a learning or assessment quiz and your students need to use the keyboard, then we encourage you to use another type of quiz, which is fill in. Fill in the blanks, that's the last one here. How this works is that we have a requirement, fill in the blanks with the correct word or words. Then it works again with the corresponding options. So wherever we have one, we'll have the first option, and wherever we have two, we'll have the second option. But again, here we need to be very careful, especially if we choose learning and if this quiz will block the student, because we need to take into account all of the possibilities for an answer that they can have. So for instance, I'm going to be teaching you more about Romania and its capital in a second, because this is the option I have in my head. One is the capital of Romania, and it is divided into two districts. So I have Bucharest being the capital of Romania, and then it's divided into 6 districts. We have 6 districts in Bucharest. If you've never been here before, by all means, come visit. We will show you all the 6 districts, although some of them are worth visiting more than others. So that means that I'm expecting my student to write this word exactly as it is in the space that will correspond to option number 1, and I'm expecting them to write 6, the number 6, not 6 in letters, in this. If I go into view mode, I'm not changing any other settings. I'm in learning. So here, if I write Bucharest like this, it's not correct, I'm stuck. If I write 6 like this, it's not correct, I'm stuck. So if you create a fill in the blanks quiz, you need to think of all the possibilities and add them as options. I'll exit view mode. The good news is that LIVRESQ helps you with this. It can, for instance, ignore case sensitive and diacritics. So if I were to write without diacritics, and Bucharest in Romanian is written with diacritics, it will still recognize it as a correct option. If I were to not start the word Bucharest with a capital letter, again, now that I've created this V, it would ignore this. But I can also tell it to, hey, listen, 6 is also, writing the number 6, writing it in letters is also correct. So I can create another option, and I can tell the platform that in this space, that option is also correct. So what I did is add (3) here in between the brackets. So now what the platform knows is that both 2 and 3 is correct for the number of districts. And also it's ignoring case sensitive. If I have a language with diacritics and I wanted to add diacritics because maybe my students don't have that keyboard installed, for instance, or special alphabet keyboards, maybe they don't have it installed, I can add it for them on the screen by using this option here, virtual keyboard. And I can add here any type of special characters I want in between brackets. So we separate them, sorry, not in between brackets, separated by a comma. I can very easily add Romanian special characters for you, because obviously I have those on my keyboard, but you can add mathematical formulas as well if you want, or mathematical symbols. So whatever special characters I'm adding here will appear as buttons on the screen. And these are all Romanian special diacritics. So what I did, added two possible options here and made the platform as the platform to ignore diacritics and case sensitive. If I go into view mode, I also have this special keyboard here, which would allow my student to add special characters. If I click on shift, then they're capitalized. If I deselect shift, then I have them not capitalized anyway. But I've asked it to ignore case sensitive. So I have Bucharest with not a capital letter, beginning with a small letter, and it works. And I can now write 6 in letters as well, and it works. This option, or this possibility to add more correct option, works with all the quizzes where you have options in between brackets. So if I went back to this one, for instance, and I added another possible answer, maybe for wild animals, I would have added wolf here, right? I can tell the platform, listen, both tigers and wolves are wild animals. So I write a comma here and tell it that option number 3 is also correct. Now, if I go into view mode, I can put, hold on, this doesn't make any sense if I don't see them all together. So no sequential display. I see all my 3 options now, and both tigers and wolves work for the space. So it's according to what you need it to be. All right, we have one more quiz. I usually avoid it because it's a bit strange, but it can be useful in many different types of situations. The last quiz we have is highlight. What this allows you to do is highlight a portion of a text in a certain way. Either give it a name, choose from a drop-down if it has a certain function, or just underline it. So for instance, choose the wild animals and the domestic. I should have done the choose the fruits and vegetables because I'm in a lesson about fruits and vegetables, but I realized that everything is so confusing for me regarding, everybody says that now the tomato is a fruit. And anyway, so we'll go with wild animals and domestic animals. Write a text with highlights, but let's first define our categories. So we have one already here, highlighted in yellow, and if I click on settings, I can select label, and now it gives me the possibility to add a label for it. And let's just say wild animal. There we go. I can change the color if I want. A color that seems wild, maybe this brown. I don't know why. No, because you can't really see the text. Anyways, making too many jokes, not making a lot of sense. So, wild animal, green. I've checked label so that I can write a label for this category. I can also change the way the line works. I can have a dashed line under it, a dotted, a double, or a wavy line. This is one category. I'm going to add a different marker for domestic animals now. Again, settings, label, we write domestic animal. Don't know why I used a capital letter here. Here we go. And again, I can change the underline if I wanted to. I'll just leave it like this. This second box is where I write my list. So we have wolf. I'll write them one under the other so that it actually looks like a list. We have wolf, we have pig, we have cow, we have, oh my God, let's go to the zoo. We have, is snake an animal? Hold on, I've got it. Goat, there we go. I need wild animals. I need at least one more wild animal. We'll go with bear again. So now I can select each of these elements. I have my text box that I'm already used to, but I have this marker here. This is additional. And I can select. For wolf, it's a wild animal. For pig, it's a domestic animal. For all intents and purposes, we don't really know. Cow is also a domestic animal. Goat, domestic animal. And bear, again, I click on the marker and I select wild animal. And now I have the list And if I go into view mode, I'm still in learning. When the student clicks one of the words, they can choose, including none. And this is why I told you that this quiz is a bit complicated and complex, because if I had a longer list, then I would have maybe selected spaces, and then in spaces it behaves differently. But for this, it works great. So wolf is a wild animal. Pig is also a wild animal. Here, I only selected the P, and I would need to start over. So that's why it's a little bit tricky. You need to think of a use case where it would actually be very useful. Thank you so much for your compliment. Great. And these are basically the quizzes you can add, and these are the settings you can perform. Labels, questions, labels or no labels, questions, and answers. And now it really looks, I like the way my colleagues have redesigned the quizzes. I hope you do too. It's much more intuitive, we think. We're going to revamp one by one all of our functionalities. One more thing that I want to show you, and then I will answer all of your questions or end for the night. So in all quizzes, we've always had the possibility to give the student feedback according to the answer they've selected. We still can do this. If we hover over an option in any type of quiz, you will also be able to see the symbol for feedback. If you click it, you can give them feedback for that specific, if they choose that specific answer. So this is a wrong answer, and this is a box where you can give them more information, help explain maybe why that option is wrong. It's very difficult for me to explain why Iași is not the capital of Romania, but of course, depending on different content, you can give it like actually valuable explanations. Try again. This is a city in the east of Romania. This is my feedback. In Bucharest, I can tell them, great job. And for Cluj, this is a city in the west of Romania. Maybe try again. We keep the same structure. Now, if I go into view mode and I select, I'm still in learning for the purpose, and I select one of my two wrong cities, the feedback will appear under this question mark here. What's worth mentioning is that I cannot make the student read this. I'm offering it as an extra option. If they're really interested in finding out more about what I'm teaching them, they're going to hover over this question mark and they'll say, wait, what? And they'll read it. The feedback for a wrong answer here appears, and the feedback for Bucharest, great job, appears once I select Bucharest. For a questionnaire like this, for a quiz like this works with feedback if this is placed in the correct place and feedback if this is placed in the wrong space. So the correct feedback for cats, if I put it, for instance, in the right place, I'd say, great, cats are common pets. But my feedback, if cats were to be placed in the other, for instance, space, would be, so cats are wild animals. Not really. Try again. Only some cats are wild animals. I won't add for any other option, but I want to show you how it works. So we have cats. Cats is the word I added feedback on. If I place it in the wrong space, then I get the wrong feedback. The feedback, not the wrong feedback per se, but the feedback that I selected for the wrong option. If I place it in the correct option, then when I hover my mouse, I can see cats and mice. I can see the comment I wrote for cats as the correct answer. And this is basically it. Adding feedback, adding all of these different types of quizzes and questionnaires, actually. Again, worth mentioning is the fact that we recommend that you use open-ended questions in survey mode only, but generally all quizzes, all other quizzes, and technically all of them can be used either in learning, assessment, or survey, according to your needs. All right. So, are there any questions by any chance or any feedback? I'd be glad to receive any feedback if I make too many jokes, if I go too fast. Anything more than welcome. So let's hear from you.
All right, I'll say something. Can you hear me? Yeah, I guess
Yes,
you
I
can.
can.
All right. So I thank you for reviewing all of this. That's good. I have a question which you haven't raised,
Mm,
is and which relates to actual assessment and scores. It,
mm.
as I remember it, because I play with this on and off. Uh, you can have a quiz which is made up of many items, and each item has several responses. So it seems to me that if you get one answer wrong, you lose all your points.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't fixed
Uh,
this.
you haven't fixed it yet. Okay.
I'll show you
Uh,
what, go ahead, sorry. I'll show
that's okay.
everybody.
But I think it's a problem because in terms of student motivation, for example, because they feel under a lot of pressure and they feel that they haven't been rewarded for the things they did get right.
Yeah. We're thinking of ways. So first of all, thank you for coming along. I've been wanting to meet you and see you for a very long time, so I'm very happy that I finally get to meet you. For those of you who've never seen Andrew, he's one of our oldest friends from
I
far away, so I'm really glad you've been in contact with many of our colleagues in the past.
Yeah,
So
yes, thank you.
what Andrew is referring to is how the scoring system works when the quiz is set on assessment. So let's say, for instance, and I'm going to do this for showing purposes only. It won't make any sense. I almost said scientifically. It won't make any sense in any world. So the purpose is assessment for this quiz. I'll set it to assessment. And let's say I have a multiple answers quiz. Let's say the capitals of Romania would be Bucharest and Cluj for the first item. Then I'll duplicate this, and the correct answers will be Iași and Bucharest. If I go into view mode and I'm under assessment, and I select only one of the correct answers, my answer will be considered wrong. If I select again only one of the correct answers and one incorrect, let's say, the answer again would be wrong, and my score finally would be 0%. So we haven't yet figured out, but we're working on it. We haven't yet figured out how to score each option individually. Right now, we're scoring each question individually. So this is something you should be aware of when you create quizzes in galleries of quizzes, basically, because this is how it works. And the scoring will be sent to the LMS. But we are still working on it. It's the idea of how quizzes were originally designed as separate items. That's a little bit harder to do right now. Okay, so I hope it's good that you raised it, and it's good that people know about this so that they're aware of it when they're building quizzes. Another thing that maybe I didn't mention is the fact that once you create quizzes in LIVRESQ, unless you export this as a SWORM file and integrate it into an LMS, you won't really see the results of your students. So LIVRESQ allows you to build content, but in order to manage the lessons you create, the courses you create, you need a separate platform called the Learning Management System that will send the data to you. So that's also important and worth mentioning. Okay, any other questions? Anyone?
Okay, I have one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
But it has nothing to do with quizzes exactly. It
That's
has to
fine.
do with connections to ChatGPT
Mm,
or any other LLM that you may want to use. And that is there currently, or is there being planned, the possibility not of generating lessons, but of giving students direct access uh, to ChatGPT, say, through a window. So, for example, they might want to question ChatGPT,
Hmm. You mean
and
like an assistant?
you could embed it. I mean, you could embed it with an iframe or something like that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But would there be something a little more uh, robust that we could add to ChatGPT, and maybe not today, but maybe soon, so
I
that
can assure
students.
you that not today. It's quite late in Romania. My colleagues are working around the clock, but it's okay. Yeah.
It's much late. It's much later in Thailand where I am. It's past
I
midnight.
know. That's why I'm really excited that you were able to join us. I know I've read your messages where you said that you were in Thailand, and I can't really figure out like a time where obviously this can be live and it can also cater to everybody. So
No,
I'm really
there is no
grateful.
time. There is no such time. There
There
is
is
no such time.
exactly just asynchronously like meeting separately in comments
Sure.
and stuff. But I'm
So,
again,
so is there is yeah. So is there a possibility of one of the things that I mean, I know LIVRESQ is under development, and
yeah.
it's been under development for a while, and I think it's going to be under development for a lot longer, simply because ChatGPT and LLMs have arrived at a critical moment in the development of LIVRESQ. So it's adding another pressure on the teams. And
Um,
all I'm looking for is a window
mm,
connected through, maybe through an API or something like that. I guess through API to ChatGPT, so that the students could, within the SCORM structure in particular, have access to ChatGPT support. Um, and because that then opens up other possibilities
yeah.
for. I guess the other possibility is to have an application, to develop an application and embed the application in the.
Yeah, that's the option I'm thinking of. That's simple that we can do very easily in order to add it. And I we have a webinar on adding it as an iframe or adding it as a separate app. And ChatGPT has many different ways in order to it can be integrated. If you're looking, but I think you mean like an assistant where that the student can access from any point of the lesson, kind
Kind
of.
of like an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Or anyway, a box that can be accessed from any point of the
yes,
lesson.
yes.
I don't know of any plans, but I know of but I know we're trying very hard to like integrate AI in a manner that can actually help students, not only teachers. So I'm
Yes.
not sure what the guys have planned in terms of this, but I know for sure that they're considering that the future of education and the future of digital education is constant communication with an AI, being able to ask questions, being
Mm.
able to ask questions regarding the content, not necessarily that can be found in the lesson. Ascendia, the company that's behind LIVRESQ, already has a product that's an LMS. And we have such a thing. We have like an assistant kind of in an LMS where you can ask questions and can give you answers that you can access inside that LMS. So definitely we're going to bring something similar to LIVRESQ and to the content we produce. I will pass on the way you envision it to my team, to our team. There's multiple people
Say
involved.
hello to Florian for me.
I will say hello to Florian. In fact, I'll make him watch this recording so that maybe he'll be able to see you. I don't think you've ever, I mean, for sure you've never met in person, but I'm not sure if
I
he's
have.
ever seen you.
Well, I've met him online.
Okay, great. So I know you've chatted via email, so I'll make him watch this. But I don't know of any plans. That's why I wouldn't say it publicly. But I know for sure that we, as you said, we are aware of what's happening in AI, and we are definitely aware of how important AI is in the future of
Yes,
education and how
yes.
important it is for personalizing a learning experience in general.
Which was going to be my next comment, really. I know there's no probably immediate answer to this given the complexities, but that we need some way, either in LIVRESQ or in the your LMS. I've forgotten its name. Coffee, isn't it?
Coffee, yeah, Coffee LMS, that's ours.
Coffee LMS. To have some adaptability built into it.
Hmm.
I mean, we can invent other LMSs. I mean, there's of course very big companies which are involved in adaptive learning. like Adapt EMI, in whatever they called in Ireland, Adaptemium.
Yeah.
So it. I think that's going to be a critically important feature of whatever we do in future. It's not going to be. We're into an era of personalization and autonomy at the moment. Everybody's autonomous and growing more and more autonomous with time. And I think we need for our learning to be to reflect that capability as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you. I will
You're
stop
welcome.
talking.
You're welcome. And I can assure you, starting from our CEO, we are aware of sort of this direction of autonomous, of personalized learning, and we're really looking to integrate that in the future.
I'm sure you are.
Thank you so much for your questions. Now, we also have another question in chat. When exporting content for LMS use, there are 3 versions of SCORM. Which of them is the best option to for export? There are indeed 3 versions of SCORM. I closed my share, but I'll go back. So when we export a project in SCORM, we have 3 versions. It depends on the LMS you're using. The reason why we have these 3 versions, the one we use is 2004 third package. We can also select other options, but it's up to the LMS that you're using. So check to see what works. This is the best way I can answer this question. When I modify my content, does it change my link to the library? Okay, so the alternative to an LMS is the LIVRESQ library, Moodle version 4.1.1. I have your email. I will get back to you. I'll ask my colleagues. I have to confess that I don't know the answer to that question. So for Moodle version 4.1.1, which is the best type of SCORM? I'll get back to you via email. So when I modify my content, the library. I was answering the other question. Just a sec. Back to the author. The library basically offers, as I mentioned before, free hosting for your lessons. Here you can find a lot of lessons, most of them in Romanian, because we have a very large community of Romanian teachers, but some of them in English as well, some of them built by us. What you can do is publish a course in your shelf. I don't have any published courses from this account. And this allows you, actually, let's try this one. When you publish to library, you can share the source if you want other teachers to use your project as a template, maybe. But basically what this means is that you now have a link for the library where people, if you send this link to different people, and I'll send this link in chat. It's not a great project, but it's it's generated by AI. Let me open the chat and send this to you. This means that you can see it in the library. It's free hosting. Anyone can open it. Students don't need accounts. Very important. But you don't get the same benefits as you do from an LMS because you won't see how the students interact with this lesson. Now, whatever changes you make, now these projects, the one I have in the author and the one that's here published are 2 different entities. They are separated, different, 2 completely separated. If I make more changes here, then they will not be reflected here. This was published this is the current Romanian time, by the way, 8:30 on July 4th. Happy birthday to the United States. Happy, whatever, Independence Day. Sorry. So we have it here. It's separate. What I have in the author, whatever I modify, won't automatically go there. I would need to export the project again to have another entity of it. Now, if I change something, for instance, I duplicate this image, it will not be reflected here. This is the same with the little dragon that I added 2 weeks ago. Everything is in place. So 2 separate entities. However, if you've already sent this link to your students and you just want to update your course or your lesson or whatever it is, book, and you don't want to send them another link because maybe you found out that you have a little mistake, then you have the possibility to overwrite it with another. If I had more published projects, I would have a list here. So you can publish it again with the modification and then overwrite it. which means that that new version will overwrite the lesson that's under this link. So that's how it works. You can update it in that way. But otherwise, once you publish it, two different entities, they're separate, the link was cut. No more link between them. But you can overwrite them. And you'll find them both in your shelf. Then the second one you can delete. I hope that answers your question. And please let me know if there are any more questions.
By the way, just a comment. I mean, Moodle is very uh, uh, universal in its acceptance of SCORM.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't think it makes much difference.
Thank you so much for that. So that's a good tip. I'm so happy about tonight's meeting because this was always the purpose, and this is we do a similar series of webinars in Romanian as well. We do them weekly though. It's really important for us to get like face-to-face feedback from our users and to also get this interaction between users because our community is actually very important. We're not one of the giant companies, but we're still pretty big, and it's really exciting to get to talk to our users and to meet them. So thank you again for being here. If there are no more questions, then I will see you back here in 2 weeks' time. We'll think of a time. Hopefully, we'll see you again as well, Andrew. Thank you so much for joining today.
No, I will be around. I had problems connecting before because my camera didn't work and so on. So yes.
Okay, great. So
Thank
that
you.
means that I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. Hello, Michael, as well. Nice to see you. And it's gonna be on Thursday, same time. I can give you the Romanian time, but I have the Central European time. I know it's really late for you though,
That's fine.
for
That's
Andrew
fine.
at least.
It's fine.
But that's okay. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much.
you.
It was so wonderful.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye for
Bye
now.
everybody.